Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisaria. Thanks for coming by the Bellisaria Sonic YouTube channel. Coming to you from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama. We're doing extraordinary record reviews for the extraordinary listeners out there. I do appreciate you joining me today. I was going to do the Into the Heaven review, the Terra Masahino Quintet. If you guys missed the Hymnology review that I did, that I put out on Tuesday, go back and check that out. That's a wonderful album. This one I will get to next. But I've been listening to this wonderful box set that I purchased off of Amazon that I didn't know was going to become available again. This is a wonderful box set that I think any jazz lover is going to want in their collection. And that is the Live in Cuba Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis. This is a fabulous 4 LP box set. Been listening to this here on the turntable as well as in my car streaming, and I want to share this with you guys today. I'm going to play a few songs off of this 4 LP set. Of course, this features the 9-time Grammy Award winner Wynton Marsalis and the renowned Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, and this is their first and only performance in Cuba, recorded at the Havana Mela Theater, October 2010. And this, again, a 4 LP set. There's a lot of music here, but this is such a wonderful, engaging listen. Wonderful booklet here that explains the project. And this, to me, is where I'm going to talk a little bit about Wynton Marsalis, because he's a very controversial figure in jazz, but I would say arguably one of the most important and influential jazz musicians to come along in quite a long time. And both from a performance perspective, from his ability to his virtuosity in playing the trumpet, which is quite astounding. I don't think anybody would argue the fact that he's one of the best trumpet players around, playing classical music. But what's also astounding, I think, is that he can play any type of in any type of jazz genre, subgenre. So Wynton can go back to the old Louis Armstrong stuff and play. He can kind of do some of the Diz stuff. He goes into the Lee Morgan stuff, into the Freddie Hubbard stuff, and on. So Wynton is very talented. And I think his dedication to jazz education at the Lincoln Center is quite important, despite what some of the naysayers out there say. So what I'm going to do is just spend just a little bit of time here talking about this box set, talking about Wynton, the importance of something like the Lincoln Center, and then I'm going to play a few tracks off of here, which is quite wide-ranging. So first of all, I just want to talk about the many jazz musicians that have come through the Lincoln Center, both as educators and as those being educated. But I think it's interesting because Wynton Marsalis started as the artistic director back in 1987 when the Classic Jazz at Lincoln Center Summer Concert Series began. So Wynton's been involved with them since 1987 as an artistic director. That series lasted from 87 to 90, and there was a lot of legends that were featured in these concerts, including Diz, Betty Carter, Etta Jones, Jimmy Heath, Slide Hampton, Harry Sweets Edison, and the list just goes on and on. Wynton recruited a group of jazz advocates to assist him in expanding the concert series into a complete jazz department at the Lincoln Center. Now, what's interesting with Wynton, again, is his musical presence goes beyond just jazz. It goes into classical and ballet and composition writing. In July 1996, due to great success and growing community support, Jazz at the Lincoln Center was installed as a new organization at the Lincoln Center, and it became on equal footing with other big organizations such as the New York Philharmonic, the Metropolitan Opera, and the New York City Ballet. This was an important historic moment for jazz as an art form and for the Lincoln Center as a cultural institution. This really can't be emphasized, in my opinion. Its mission is to entertain, enrich, and expand a global community for jazz through not only performance, but education and advocacy, with the belief that jazz is a great metaphor for democracy, being that all the musicians get to participate, get to improvise, play their parts, and jazz at Lincoln Center has become a central hub for this learning and performance. Now, the comprehensive educational programming includes Band Directors Academy, which is a popular concert series for kids called Jazz for Young People. There's Jazz in the Schools, the Middle School Jazz Academy, Wee Bop, a program that's for kids ages 8 months to 5 years. So what I find really interesting and also very hopeful is that a lot of young kids are being educated in traditional jazz. And of course, then they can take and do what they want with that education, whether it be to continue on in that traditional jazz or being able to take it in different directions, which many of them have. There's also essentially Ellington, which is an annual high school jazz band competition and festival that reaches over 2,000 bands in 50 states in Canada. Then you have the Jack Rudin Jazz Championship, an annual college jazz band competition, and an adult educational concert series titled Journey Through Jazz. These are just some of the main things that Jazz at the Lincoln Center does. Now, Jazz at the Lincoln Center is not just about playing traditional jazz music and educating future musicians. It's also, what I think is important, is putting together a jazz canon. Jazz is really a pure American musical art form that can not only be preserved in this traditional type of jazz, but expanded upon. And tradition, contrary to what some people think, doesn't just look backwards. It also looks forwards. And the crux of musical creativity, in my opinion, is recognizable in great musicians that look both backward and forward. And a great example would be John Coltrane. And I'm going to be doing a complete video, quite a long one, on John Coltrane and what creativity means and what tradition means and what jazz education means, and how John Coltrane is such a great example for that. Let's move on now and talk about this wonderful album. Wonderful booklet here that I'm going to show you. This is just an absolutely phenomenal 4 LP set. Here we'll talk a little bit about what's on this album. This is 4 LPs. You have engaging, expansive jazz compositions on here that, in my opinion, just keep you smiling from the time you drop the needle all the way through all 4 LPs. There's 16 tracks, 12 different arrangers on here. While the Latin tinge of, I've touched on this in other videos. Jelly Roll Morton talked about jazz and this Latin tinge, this Latin influence that is there, especially in that traditional lane. It is definitely central in this musical program. And there, again, you can see some of the tunes. You've got the compositions range from public domain tunes like Baa Baa Black Sheep to Marsalis' original compositions like the Sanctified Blues and his ballad Spring Yaoundé. Along, you have Ellington and Basie tunes and others that are playing in this band. This makes it a very fun and engaging listen. The booklet I'm going to show you here in just a moment. But I want to say that, those who criticize these types of traditional musical endeavors as being stale or non-innovative, they completely miss the point of what music is as an art form, as well as the importance of handing on the jazz tradition to others so they can do with it as they will. Either continue on again in that traditional vein or move outside of it to other interesting things that they can do. But there are a lot of people that turn their noses up to jazz tradition, and they are no friends of the innovators. I'll state that again. Those who turn their nose up and insult traditional jazz and talk about the quote unquote gatekeepers or boogeymen, they're no friends to innovators like Wayne Shorter or John Coltrane, who viewed jazz tradition as being extremely important. And just again, touching a little bit on Coltrane, he was a huge supporter of formal musical education, and also he participated in formal musical education. He looked not only to jazz tradition for his creativity, but guess what? He also looked to classical music for creativity and inspiration. So the same dull critics who say that classical music is dead are the same dull critics who claim that jazz is dead, and neither one of those genres of music are close to being dead. Now, these performances, let me just flip through this book here and show you a little bit. I'll give you a little closer look here as we listen to some of the music. Oh, nice book, kind of matte finish. Nice pictures in here. All the information about this concert. The best of the tunes that they thought that were recorded here are included, though not all of the recordings from what I understand. But again, you've got enough to make up 4 LPs here, so there's plenty of music. So I'll show you the booklet as we get, and I'll talk about the musicians that are on here as well. But this is an all-star lineup. These performances are not artificial. They're not false, nostalgic presentations of these compositions. This is, in my opinion, a genuine modern presentation of some of the most important jazz compositions in jazz history here we have. They're played by an extremely dedicated, well-educated, talented, and virtuosic lineup, which I'm going to talk about. But you have complete with the trumpet mutes, the plungers, and everything that makes these compositions come alive. It's all here. And those who appreciate, I think, the value of jazz education, keeping traditional jazz alive, I think they're going to find a lot of value in this 4 LP set. Now, I'm going to just touch on the players here, because you're going to notice you're going to recognize a lot of the names here, such as Sherman Irby on the alto saxophone, also playing the flute, piccolo, and clarinet. Ted Nash is on the alto and tenor saxophones, flute, piccolo, and clarinet. Victor Goins is playing the tenor and the clarinet. Walter Blanding is on the tenor and soprano saxophones and clarinet. Joe Temperley is playing the baritone, saxophone, and bass clarinet. That's your reed section. Trumpet section, Ryan Kaiser, Kenny Rampton, Marcus Printup, and of course, Wynton Marsalis. On the trombones, Vincent Gardner, Chris Crenshaw, and Elliot Mason. Your rhythm section is Dan Nimmer on piano, who's an incredible pianist. Carlos Enriquez on the bass, a phenomenal bass player. Ali Jackson on drums, awesome. And then you have your JLCO Cuba Tour musical director, who is also Carlos Enriquez. So this is, all of these guys on here are incredible players. So without further ado, I'm going to drop on the first track, which is going to be this tune called 2/3 Adventure. And this is a Carlos Enriquez tune. And I'll be showing you, I do want to mention one thing here before I play this. These are the inner sleeves that the records come in. Now, these are not too bad. They have kind of that soft, matte, kind of a cardboard sleeve. So I think as far as the records go, sliding in and out, it's going to be fine. But what I don't like too much is that they're all kind of colored the same. So if you don't keep them in order in the box, you're going to have to pull the record out to look and see what they are. So otherwise, you can stick them in your own sleeve where you can see the names of the tunes and keep them in order that way. That's the only criticism I have. But as far as like actual quality of the inner sleeves, they're actually quite nice. And I don't think they're going to scratch your record up. So aside from that, this is going to be the first tune here. Let me drop it on the Fluence RT85 with the Ortophon Blue. Going through my Vincent-Faux 701 into my Denon receiver, and then going into my 4311B JBL speakers. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Give the thumbs up and share this with other people. These seem to be pretty decent pressings. Yeah, just incredible playing by all these guys. Does come with a download card. Here's the box. Very lively sounding record. You hear that live presence. You hear the bantering of the musicians, and it's just a nice sounding record. Nice stereo mix. Yeah. I mean, for 39 bucks, 40 bucks, you can't beat this. You really can't. Marcus print up on the trumpet. You have the explanation of the tunes and the soloists on the tunes. So good. There's all your engineering information and producing information there. There again's all your musicians. And of course, there are different soloists on different tunes. So Wint is, for example, is not soloing on every song. That's Carlos Enriquez on the bass. Incredible bass player. And again, a nice sound on this. Really nice mix, very lively mix. Nice, wide, big sound stage. It sounds like it's a concert hall. So if you like live recordings, you're really going to dig it. Again, the tunes do range. They do vary quite a bit. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go over to side D and I'm going to play a couple of tunes. A Monk tune and a Ellington tune. So although you do have that Spanish tinge throughout the entire 4LP set, there are definitely tunes that are more Latin influenced than others. So I'm going to play two tunes. One's called Light Blue, which I'm going to play now. We're going to play the entire side D. And then I'm going to play one more tune, I think. I could play this whole thing for you guys. So this one here is a Monk tune called Light Blue. On this, you have the Dan Nimmer on piano, who is an incredible pianist, and Walter Blanding on the tenor saxophone. Those are your two soloists. And then we'll listen to Braggin' and Brass, which is an Ellington tune. Of course, Duke Ellington, I don't think gets enough recognition for being one of the great American composers. Like probably, maybe the greatest American composer. I just love this pianist on here. This Dan Nimmer is just a wonderful pianist. This is just one of those, you can't help but smile when you listen to this record. Drums sound nice. Another thing I like about this type of musical project is you hear the importance of both the composition, the arrangements, as well as the soloists. Again, there's all your tunes. 4 LPs, a lot of music here. I'd like to see more projects like this out of the Lincoln Center. Yeah. Tunes on here range anywhere from like 5 minutes, a little over 5 minutes, all the way up to like 12 minutes. So pretty much you've got 2 tunes per side. Total of 16 tracks. This track here, almost 11 minutes. And then we'll listen to Braggin' and Brass, which is an Ellington tune. And on there you'll hear incredible trumpet playing by both Winton and Marcus, and incredible trombone playing by Elliot Mason. So, and then we'll close out with a tune called I Left My Baby, which is a Count Basie tune, famous Kansas City tune. Again, a nice box, lift-off cover. I put the hype sticker on the inside. I was really delighted when I saw this come available on Amazon. I was like, oh, I gotta grab it as soon as I saw it. It's Walter Blanding on the tenor. Yeah, just some badass playing. I mean, all these guys are so good. Those arrangements, I mean, nice. Again, really nice wide sound stage. It's really big sounding. It's got a very lively sound to it. It's a nice mix. You hear the instruments. You know, it's like you're listening to a live concert. It really sounds nice. They did a good job of recording this and mixing it. And I love live recording, so. Nice. That's Light Blue, Thelonious Monk, arranged by Vincent Gardner. And that was almost 11 minutes long. So I'm gonna listen to I'm gonna play two more tracks for you guys. Next one's Braggin' and Brass. And that which is an Ellington tune. And again, what I love about this 4LP set is just you can enjoy the arrangements, the different harmonies, the different instruments, the way they're arranged, as well as the incredible solo playing. Witten and Marcus on the trumpets. And you hear some incredible virtuosity. I love this stuff. Yeah. Nice. Love that phrasing. hit those notes. Pretty nice quiet vinyl. Every once in a while you might hear a little something when it gets really quiet. Other than that, nice solid pressings. Nice. Elliot Mason on the trombone. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, if you don't like this, you don't have a pulse, in my opinion. Incredible. Wonderful playing. All right, I'm going to play one more tune.
The trombone section.
All right, I'm going to put on one more tune we'll close out with, a great Kansas City standard, if you will, Basie. And it's called I Left My Baby. We've got some vocal performance on here by Chris Crenshaw. We'll close out with that. Again, this is just a wonderful record set. A lot of music. Great listen all the way through. If you like traditional jazz, you're really in for a treat with this. And again, such great value. 4 LPs for $40. All right, here we go with I Left My Baby.
left my baby.
Yeah.
Standing in the back door crying. I left my baby standing in the back door crying. She said, son, you got a home as long as I've got mine.
Yeah.
When I leave you, baby, count the days I'm gone. When I leave you, baby, count the days I'm gone. When there ain't no love, there ain't no getting along.
Love it. Guys are having a lot of fun playing these tunes, compositions. There's a lot of other great tunes on this. You got Dizzy Gillespie, Gil Fuller, Things to Come tune, a couple of Marsalis originals like the Sanctified Blues from Congo Square, freaking awesome. Baa Baa Black Sheep, a traditional one arranged by Sherman Irby. Anaki's Decision from Victoria Suite, another Wynton. Yeah. Freaking awesome.
When I leave you, baby, count the days I'm gone. When I leave you, baby, count the days I'm gone. See, when there ain't no love, there ain't no getting along.
Freaking awesome. You know, if you like jazz music, you're really going to appreciate this. There's something to be said also about the virtuosity it takes to play this kind of music. That's not easy to play. And even when it comes to some of the modern trumpet playing, Wynton talked about how it was hard to... He was playing Freddie Hubbard stuff, quote-unquote cutting edge trumpet playing. He said when he went back and tried to play Louis Armstrong and this kind of stuff, it was way harder to play, technically. All right, folks. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Leave your comments. Give the thumbs up. Share this with other people. For $40, you're not going to get a better musical value. I mean, 4 LPs, a lot of music here to listen to. Of course, focused on that Latin tinge, but you've got a lot of big band things going on here. Originals by Wynton. You got Basie here, Duke Ellington stuff. This is just a fantastic assembly of music, if you will. So go out, pick this up, share it with other people. Those who love jazz music, who truly love jazz music, I think are going to appreciate this. So I appreciate you guys joining me. We will see you next time. That is Live in Cuba. You've just heard Jazz at the Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis. We will see you soon.